In this video, I want to show you how to quickly transform a basic skirt with 2 darts into an A-line skirt. As a base, I'm using my Armstrong basic skirt pattern. The first thing I do is save my basic skirt file under a different name. Then I prepare the draft for further changes by separating the front and back skirt pieces. I prefer to have the front skirt pattern on my left, so I start by moving the points and curves away from the original pattern. I only select the objects I need for this process. While selecting multiple objects, I hold down the Command key. This process is like copying the piece and leaving the original untouched. I use the Move Objects tool. With it, I can define the distance and angle for moving the selected objects. As you can see, the lines don't move along with the points, so I need to redraw them on the pattern. I forgot to select points A34 and A35, so I repeat the process for those. It's always better to select all the necessary objects at once, because that way we can avoid problems, especially if we plan to change the distance for all of them at once. These are the dart points. I mark the dart legs by connecting the points with lines. It's important to start from the dart point. This will be crucial when we close the darts in the next steps. Next, I move the back skirt piece in the same way I moved the front piece. I connect the points of the back skirt with lines. Here you can see how you can change the distance between the moved objects. Now, The front and back pieces are ready for modeling. I draw lines from the dart points, the ones closest to the side seams, down to the hemline. I connect the new points with lines and change the line color for better visibility. Now I use the Rotate Objects tool to close the darts and open them along the hemline. I select the objects I want to rotate and choose the dart point A34A2 as the origin point for rotation. To make sure the dart on the waistline closes exactly as it should, I use the angles of the dart legs. By subtracting the angle of one line from the other, I get the precise value needed to close the dart. That's why it was so important for both dart legs to start from the same dart point. I connect the new points created by this step with lines. I mark the new width of the skirt at the hemline. The distance between points A46A4 and A46 shows how much the front skirt hem was widened as a result of closing the dart. I noticed I hadn't moved point A21A1, so I do it now. I move the back piece further away to make more room for front skirt modeling. I want to shift the front skirt to the side after closing the dart, to make the next steps more visible. I select the points and curves of the front piece and move them aside. Of course, this isn't necessary. You could make changes on the same drawing, but I want everything to be easier to see. I draw the missing lines. Using the Simple Curve tool, I draw a new hemline. I smooth the hemline curve. Now I want to slightly widen the skirt along the side seam, from the hip line downwards. To do this, I rotate the hemline point A1 or 1 or 4. The angle I use is half of the angle from the previously closed dart. The rotation point is A2 or 1 or 4, located on the hip line. I mark the amount added to the hemline so I can measure it. Then I draw a new hemline curve. I also smooth the hip curve. I mark the new curve in blue. Now I move the back skirt piece a bit closer. I follow the exact same steps as with the front piece, starting with closing the waste dart. I connect the new points with lines. I check how much volume was added to the hemline and I notice it's less than what was added to the front piece. To correct this, I manually adjust the rotation angle to get a similar added width. With this adjustment, the waste dart isn't closing point to point, because the angle is slightly different. The difference is minimal, so I'll ignore it for now, but if it were more significant, I would need to compensate by adding or removing that difference from the remaining dart. I add a bit more volume at the hemline from the hip point, the same way as I did for the front piece. I draw a new hemline curve. I also adjust the hip curve of the back piece. Now I switch to the details mode. In the back piece, the waist curve doesn't meet the new point exactly, because the dart wasn't closed perfectly. I'll fix that in the next steps. Here's the point from the old dart. I won't be needing it in either the front or back piece. Here's how I correct the waistline curve. I go back to draw mode. I draw a new smooth waistline curve for both the front and back pieces. Then I use the Insert Node tool and select the new waistline curves. Back in Details mode, I open the pattern path and move the inserted object to its proper place. I remove the old dart point and any unnecessary curves. I delete the basic skirt pattern pieces I no longer need. I slightly adjust the hemline curve of the front piece. The simple A-line skirt pattern is now ready. Thank you for following along.